trade show, like, it's reality. It's all right, Miss Brenda, we won't call the meeting to order. First, I want to thank y'all for coming out on this beautiful, lovely day. I know there's a lot of other things y'all like to be doing outside than this. But to the two chiefs and y'all, thank you so much for coming. And what we wanted to do today is that we visited this issue back in March of last year. And we've got some new people on the council now. And we've said in all of our meetings how much public safety means to us and to this city and how important it is. So what I wanted to do today is with you guys, and you just walk us through pretty much what we did in March, our salaries, you know, where we are today, where we want to go, you know, how many people we have today, where we want to get to, and you know, what's that overall number that we're looking at as a council and the mayor to try to find if this is something that we feel like we need to do. So with that being said, Chief Jordan, I'll just let you go first and tell us where we are today, you know, what we're looking at going to, how it's going to affect the overall budget plan, and you know, what fire stations, whatever we're talking about for public safety. This time I think we should talk about it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And you have the booklet in front of you. Try to prepare some type of guideline that we're looking at and put our thoughts on paper. Where we are today, one of our biggest issues is staff. We hire. This year and last year, hiring has been extremely tough because the economy is good. And the people that we're trying to hire is already have a job. And so we have good pay, but it's not competitive pay. And so we're setting that 415 funded position. We have a grant for another 33 people. And today we're probably sitting on 390 something people, with 23 of those people in training. And so
that 390, Chief, is that actual firemen today that if you have a fire they go put it out, or is that people on active duty?
They don't have active duty, they're on sick leave, they are in training. They won't graduate to 23 won't graduate to maybe a month and a half, 2 months from now. And there's always family medical leave, sick leave, and things like that. So you back that out, you can probably operate with maybe less than 360. And there's national standards for the fire service, having 4 people minimum on pumpers, ladders, 3 people in at least a minimum of 2 people on the rescue trucks. But what happens is when we don't have the staff, then it pushes into higher overtime. And on average, we are hiring about 23 to maybe some days close to 30 people every day to make staff. And so you do A, B, and C shift, that number is about 60 people that we have to hire in 3 days to do the overtime. The problem comes in is we're overworking our personnel. We have not expanded in the city of Montgomery since 1998. The last expansion fire station that we built was on Ray Thornton in 1998, 1999. Since that time, that's what, 20, 21 years, we continue to get calls. So we're asking our personnel to absorb all of these calls that come in year after year. And so you're looking at the PTSD. In 1995, as a district chief on the line, I can remember going to maybe 1 or 2 calls in a couple of years. Now, the kind of calls we go to is on a regular basis. We're taking a big toll on our personnel. So the biggest thing is staff. Staff, and not having enough staff is causing a lot of issues.
What's your overtime running?
The overtime is averaging between $2.8 and $3 million. And that's not necessarily over budget. It is absorbed from inside of the budget, fall out on the salary account because we're not.
Don't have enough.
Yeah, we're not able to hire but when we hire them, we're losing to other departments. I think right now, I think the neighboring department is looking at opening a fire station. They're looking at hiring 6 or 7 people, and I think 20 people probably, some of the talk I get is looking to go over there. And they go over there for different reasons. For lower run volumes. And when they go further north, around the Jefferson County area, Shelby County area, it's better pay and low volume of calls. And so we like to get our staff.
If you had a magic wand, what do you need? What get the magic wand and say, all right, everything's there, people's there. Now, how many people would you need in your fire department?
Well, we use what you call it's a relief factor. A relief factor, it's on page 12. And a relief factor, you kind of put in your annual leave, your sick leave, and some other factors. They give you a relief factor number. And our relief factor number, we look at this formula, is 1.2. You multiply it times the minimum staff that you want on a unit, and that comes out to about 496 firefighters.
So 496 would be the magic number.
It's magic.
Be staffed directly and have what you need.
Right. That's currently for what we're doing right now. Okay, now we talk about station 17, station 18, station 19, which I like to. That's additional personnel outside of that. But as we stand today, you're talking about 496.
And that's not the new fire stations.
That's not the fire.
Matter of fact, we don't even have a fire station in District 4.
That's correct. We have some property, I believe. But we don't have a station.
How many total stations do we have on here?
15 stations.
You want to talk a little bit, Chief, about the new stations, what they would cost us, where they need to go, and that sort of thing?
Well, like the sponsor said, we have property, we have property, East Atlanta Highway, near the, Dix Electric. About 3.5 acres, so about sitting there that we purchased last year's budget, or year before last. And, it would probably take, about $5 million to build a fire station there approximately. And you will have reoccurring costs for that station. You look at page 32. Page 32, we need at least 15 personnel for the pumper, and you need 9 personnel for a rescue unit. You talk about 24 personnel, and the structure is about $5 million plus, and the reoccurring costs would definitely be the personnel and the utilities. And we got an estimated cost of utilities of $60,000, and with reoccurring costs for personnel about $2.5 million. There's another station, station 17 is very important. Station 18 is another location I think we need to look at, and that is going to be at the intersection of this Hampstead area. That would be Taylor and Park Crossing, somewhere in that area.
Do we have land for that?
We do not.
Okay.
Station 18, we do not. Mr. McLeod and I, we have kind of driven around our city and looked at some things and talked about some things, but we do not have property for Station 18. Stations that I'm really excited about looking at Billings does not have as much recurring cost. It's going to be on the old Sears property. I do have a place that has been allotted for a fire station on the old Sears property. And what I want to do is take Station 7, which is on East Fairview, and Station 10, which is on Rose Park, and combine it into one large station. Because what's happening is the old stations are not big enough for the apparatus that we purchased today. Station 7 of East Fair was built in 1929. Station,
1929.
yes, 1929, Station 7, and Station 10 was built in 1950. So, looking at the data, I think the one large station that can house the two medic units that's currently at Station 10, the engine company at number 7, and we bring them back at Engine 10, which we do not have today, to be in that station, which would give the community, I think, what they need.
How come it's a lower recurring cost, just curious?
Because we have two medic units in Station 10 now
Okay.
that will move to the new station, and then we have one engine company in Station 7 that will move to the new station. So
Okay.
that cost we already paying for.
Okay.
So we add Station 10, that would be the only recurring cost of the engine 10.
What's the value of those two properties that you're talking about combining to decide to sell?
I'm not for sure. First person I would probably look to is Mr. McLeod. And we currently do not have a Station 1. Station 1 years ago used to be located where our training because of the change of city, community. We made it to a training facility. Currently, we do not have one, which kind of hurt us a little bit about bringing resources downtown. Downtown had moved forward a great deal in the last 20 years, and I'd love to have a mid-unit answer from downtown, a pump or answer from downtown. And I know this hurt Mrs. Douglas a lot, but she had an ideal location for Station 1. So, but she would get a brand new building, I'm pretty sure.
So, you said we don't have one downtown. What medic units respond to
The
downtown?
closest medic unit responding to the downtown area coming from Rosa Park.
Okay.
Because you go to Station 2, which is near the police academy, that station is packed out with all type of resources, from the dive team, other the district chief, all those folks. You can't get anything else in the station. So the closest medic unit is coming from Rosa Park. So you're answering to the Renaissance. It's a over 5 minute response time. And I don't particularly like that, especially coming downtown.
What do y'all normally respond? What's our average response time?
Our average response time throughout the city, our average for all our units is 4 minutes and 26 seconds. That's on pretty much suppression and EMS, which is a pretty good response time.
And that tells us where we need to be with our insurance rating and all that stuff, right?
Yes, sir, because the response time ties into your ISO 100.
Right.
And so the national average response time for is pretty much 4 minutes.
Okay.
On suppression and EMS. So 426 is not bad considering the challenge that we have with
Right.
staff.
You wanna, how do you and Chief Tillman wanna do this? How do you wanna talk about the pay a little bit, where we are today? I know they're gonna pretty much go hand in hand. I don't know if you guys wanna tag team, whatever you wanna do.
Yes, sir. I can start off with the research that we found. We kind of did some research.
Thanks,
And,
What's good? Can you talk a little louder so we can hear?
Yes, can you talk a little louder? Is this thing on?
It's on, yes, sir.
Can you hear me now?
It's not on.
It's on. The system's on, there's,
This system.
I heard Charlie speaking.
Hello? I'll just go ahead.
We'll try now. Try now.
Can you hear me now?
We can, they can't.
That one.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's better.
I don't know, that green light's on,
All right.
so we set out to do a little research. We're not city county personnel, so I was gonna be our research is gonna be kind of close. So we determined that, Tuscaloosa Fire Department was the highest paid fire department in the state of Alabama based on our research. Their starting pay is $47,000. And so, to match them, that's a 20%. And we did this research probably a year ago, so it
Yeah.
could be a little bit off. So that's about 20% different than what we're getting paid. And, so from your instructions to become the highest paid fire department in the state of Alabama, that's about 27% increase, which is about $50,000 starting. And page 7 has a chart. So that 27% just apply across the board. That moves everyone because you just really can't move just one particular class. So there was, I want to add 3 choices, so 27%, 20%, 16%, and 20% for Tuscaloosa, 16% is Pella. And Pella Fire Department is one department that we constantly losing firefighters to on a regular basis.
Because of pay and because of
Pay,
total calls,
less work.
less work?
That's where I believe those are the things that I've been told. And,
What are the average runs, Chief, that y'all go out on a day? And I know they vary from station to station, but
on an average, we run from 80 to 90 calls a day, depending on the weather and some other things, time of year, holiday, but on an average, about 80 to 90. Yes.
Well, because also that you're making the calls for wrecks and everything else, right?
Yes, sir, there's a
Yeah.
need, we have to do those suppression part of the things. With the EMS part, we get all the 911 calls, so you may see multiple units there, but they're doing different parts of the job.
right.
Page 8 is just another chart with 20%, page 9 would be 16%. As you go to page 10 to get, we're not including the grant because the grant is probably got 2 more years and it'll be done. But to get to,
Let me ask you a quick question, I didn't mean to interrupt you. On the grant, do you have to, like Chief Finley, I know we had a grant one time. And the big thing we kept saying is, if we get over 500, and keep 500, we can get 30 officers, but we never could even come close to it.
Right.
Is y'all's grants the same way theirs is, like, you gotta hit X number and keep them to be able to keep that grant and we don't have to pay it back?
it's similar.
Okay.
As long as we're showing effort and documenting our efforts, we're able to draw down on those accounts.
Okay.
But there is a process that we have to go through. The grant, the safer grant is designed to help fire department,
Right.
not to kind of penalize us. So as long as we are pursuing, hiring, and recruiting, which we are each and every day, then we can draw down.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, what you want to go on page 10?
So page 10, 81 firefighters from where we are now will give us to 496. And we kind of broke down the costs from the 27, 20, and 16%. The next is to get to 480, 65 firefighters needed. And the total increase, 396, but if you go 27%, it kind of breaks down the percentages.
What you would throw on top of what you get?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The same thing with getting 450. And 450 is not a terrible number. There will be some overtime involved in 450. If we go to 496, there should be any overtime, there should be any issues. with staff. But the lower number here, 450. So we're averaging $2.83 million. I could probably guess maybe 400,000 in overtime.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you, does that number come
That's
out?
at
if
450
we can get
number.
there?
That's 450.
Yeah.
You're still looking at about $400,000, $500,000.
So you're looking at $500,000, but you're saving $2.5 million.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Because you go
So
out-
you take $2.5
take
million
2.5
off your
out of that
salary
number.
side.
Right.
That's,
It makes
that's.
your salary side more realistic.
Right. And also, you know, you catch us talking about money and staff and whatever. One of my greatest concerns is going to be our personnel. Our personnel is being worked just a little bit harder than I like to see them work. I don't mind working them, but I feel like assaulting calls at a higher rate than I think is probably recommended. And they're doing a good job of it, but as I said, you speak for them, we need some release.
But you'll see things that the average citizen doesn't see.
Right. And we need to
And I
better
know-
swap these guys out, because, for example, maybe I have 80 or 90 paramedics that's working in the field just answering all these calls. They work a shift like Rosa Park station, that's a busy station. They're averaging maybe 20 to maybe 23 calls a shift between two units. Well, the next day, that district supervisor may ask those same people to work again. They have one day off and then come back to that call volume again. And that's pretty much happening throughout our city. We go to Rosa Park, we go to Chisholm, we go to Lagoon Park, we go to Station 9 at South Central. They're doing some same thing. And we're asking them to repeat that every day. And that's just a little bit more than what I would like to ask our firefighters.
And that's not gonna help with your turnaround time. They're gonna leave the smaller volume stations with more pay because you gotta work somewhere.
You gotta work. And everybody likes a little overtime, but sometimes it gets to be too much. And the problem gets to be on Thanksgiving when you work all year, working overtime. And you should be the one that say, hey, just go ahead, Milford, and have this day. And I'm like, no, I gotta keep you. Or Christmas. They're working Christmas Eve, and you gotta hold this person on Christmas Day. And we understand if you are slated to work on Christmas Day, we understand that. But if you're not, then you held to work overtime. That's hard for us to do.
So. So, the 496 is not any new stations. That is strictly what we have today, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're at $3.5 million if we could do this, taking out your overtime, putting your overtime back into the budget. You're at $3.5 million. So, just real quick, Chief, and we'll get Chief Finley. So let's make sure I understand this. So if we were to add one or two of these stations, that number at 496 needs to go up, right?
Yes, sir. So every pumper is gonna be 15, every medic unit is gonna be 9.
Okay.
Pumping units.
So you're
is
looking at
gonna be
24.
24. It's 5,
Two station 482.
that's right.
And those
Really,
were
number
those
545, 546.
$2.5 million salaries, plus the building of the stations, $5 million.
Yes. And the two stations I would push the hardest would be, first on my list would be the one at Rosa Park.
Okay.
It's a Rosa Park, but the OC.
Combined.
The combined. Because we need to put more resources in that, for our city. And the other one will be, in District 1, Station 17. Those are the two that I would call push the hardest at this point.
So you're at, 7.5 million bucks. There's two stations and the salaries, and then on top of that, building two new stations. Five.
5 million plus. So one other thing I'd like
Yeah.
to mention, if I can just take 1 second. We're seeing all this too about the salaries, so there's one other thing that we have to opt into. I know we've done a really good job with the state retirement. all our personnel do not have the option for tier one. Tier one, of the state retirement is a must. We have to have tier one. Because most all the cities are going to the tier one, they're opting in for the tier one. So to go along with the salaries, we have to have tier one, at least for public safety, to be competitive.
Explain tier one to a lot of people don't understand.
Tier one, actually give a public safety officer 2.04% for every year that they work, along with, I think for every 5 years you work under the state program, you get 1 year free, called stress, bill, I believe. On the tier two side, which is the newest side, is 1.65% for every year. And it does not have any stress portion. So back, I think 6 months ago, the state brought back the tier one option. The cities has to opt in. And I think there's a cost to opt in to the tier one, but it is a must along with the request for the increase in salaries.
How much does that cost us,
Getting
Ms. Betty?
an analysis done,
Okay,
and I should have that hopefully by next week.
okay. Is it good to go
Going
on
on analysis.
Matthew Group has already done the analysis, and they said they can approve.
All right, Chief.
I got one other question.
Yeah.
How long would it take you to, if you could actually train and you had a little bit better salary, say it was middle of the road, how long is it gonna take you to staff up 496? That's a lot compared to where we are today. It's another 100.
It's gonna take a while. It's gonna take, a couple of years. If we are in the competitive salary, top or second, it's gonna take a couple of years. It takes 22 weeks to do one class.
So you need a 2-year plan minimum.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think our concerns is, almost still to the fire department. And so when we look at where we at today, at 472, give or take, I would like to be at max, at authorized strength is 510, but at least 100 officers to really, make a difference. And again, it's going to be like, Chief George said about a 2-year plan. Our issue again is that overtime, so that overtime can really keep us, under for the year, just put these men hours in these areas where they need to be. It's a challenge. Men and women who are working hard, we average, 660 calls a day, and that's on average. Yesterday we had about 760. And so that is day in and day out, the number of calls that we get throughout the city. And so.
What's your overtime number?
Right now, last year it was 2.9 million. The year before it was 2.3. The year before that was 1.9.
Okay.
And so we have to do that. We have to put cops on the dots, put them in the streets to really deal with those issues that are plaguing our city 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, where most people are asleep. And so I think it's very important. The other thing is, we've got to really listen to our employees. And I know that you guys hear some complaints about our employees as far as being overworked. That's a reality. And so we try to do the best that we can, but we got to make the city safe. And so my plug would be the salary increase, and it's the fire department us is the same salary, but we look at those jurisdictions in Pelham, Talladega, and those other agencies that you mentioned, it's the same with the PD. And so with these officers that are leaving, they definitely leave for higher salaries, but they leave for a lesser workload. And so again, it's either money or they don't want to work as hard, and they go to another place where they feel comfortable with easier workload to make ends meet.
Chief, question. You say you have 472 on here. What are you budgeted for this past year? 'Cause I know at one time we had a budget for 524
Right.
officers.
Yeah, 503,
Okay.
and then we recently went up to 510. And so, again, we are fighting that attrition. And we are constantly, we have about 15 or so, that's in the waiting holding patterns to be hired. So we have another class coming up at the end of February. I think that, we're looking at this class about 20 to 25. And so that number should go up. But those are, individuals that are in training, in the training cycle. That training cycle again is about a half year. So we talk about 22 weeks of training and then, another 16 weeks of, field training. So that's a half a year.
That 472, does that include people that are in,
In the academy, absolutely right now, yes, sir.
How many you got in there right now?
We have, 31. That's in the academy right now.
so really
So
take out
actually,
472 minus
Right,
30, yeah.
Right, right. And so the way we
That's
look.
not active duty and all that other good stuff either.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so when we look at right now, that's, manning the sectors right now, under 200. And again, I would like for each of those sectors to have additional, and the sectors are the precincts, so we have, precinct A and precinct B. And so I would like, it's under 200 right now, I would, for both. So I would like for each sector, additional 25 to really, make a difference. And that includes our investigative units that are assigned to those particular, precincts, to make sure that we have full coverage of personnel.
Ask you a question, I'm gonna ask it to both of you. Originally, on some of the last newer stations, were they designed to have small police presence in those? Which I think y'all are using for training rooms? Is that a true statement?
The last one was not. There's some in the past, there was, I would say, a nice gesture, but it wasn't what the police department needed.
Okay.
I think it was just something they said, hey, we'll make a precinct. But if you listen at Chief Taylor, that's not even close to
To
it.
follow that question up, I saw a significant improvement when we went to the one center.
Yes.
The time that you waste to get to that area and back every day, we picked up and gained to be out in the neighborhoods. How would you think that we would go forward with additional precincts if we need?
Manpower. And so we need additional precincts. There will be like satellite precincts for like our traffic.
Yeah.
That can be a full service in those communities. But the one center, we really stand that up, and it's a full service precinct like the one at headquarters. And so I would really like the way they're standing up. So the other precincts that are out there, it's a manpower challenge for us. And so we encourage them to go to one of the two precincts if they need any police assistance.
So if you staff up though, does it make a difference to add another precinct?
That would be, again, it would be, if I'm staffed up, I would definitely consider that wholeheartedly in terms of how do we make that happen, where would that be at, planning in the city. So if that is something that we can have to think about, we can make reality. I check it out as far as the strategic location in the city, and so we can have a quicker response time for that community that precinct will be housed. So that's something that we can look into for the next year.
The reason I ask that, although our population is about the same, our city area population has grown out and spread out geographically, especially when we talked about the Hampsteads and the Taylor Road side out, and these other areas, even mine as far as going out Highway 126, out that way, Stony Brook and all. To me, it looks like the 510 probably we need to be looking at 600 or better officers.
Absolutely. And that will be my recommendation as started this off from that authorized strength plus 100. And so I can see where these officers need to go to build the precinct, but also build our CID, our special operation, as well as our traffic. And so, just to filter those in, but I would definitely look at that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That would make it ideal for us.
So your cost, Chief, almost mirrors, I was just sitting here doing some figure, almost mirrors exactly, pretty much 100 apiece, almost, I was just doing some figure. pretty much identical to what Chief Jordan.
And that's on the low end, and so I'm looking at this piece of paper right here, it's a kind of, a little bit higher than that, but that will get some traction, going in this department, a minimum of 100, just to really get that going, so, this proposal.
So you're staffed at, how many did we do, 502?
Yeah, well, this, during this cycle was 503, now just recently 510. But, I would like 100 or to 125 more additional officers. And so as,
So it's $3.5 million roughly, if we put that, if I'm making sure I understand that right.
It's
3.5.
600.
We're staffed at 500,
right,
let's say.
say five.
Chief needed a little less than 100.
Mhm.
So I was just using pretty much the same number, so it's
Right.
3.7 million
Same.
roughly, $4 million.
So yes, and so we looked at, about 6 with additional staff
Okay.
of 100.
But I look also at us, of course, on your side, same way I did his, is we're under, we don't have enough money in the budget right now to cover, your equipment. We have older vehicles, we have computers that are not online anymore because they're too old. And we need to be looking at your budget also in a change of how we purchase or lease equipment, lease purchase equipment, whatever, radio system, computer systems, as well as vehicles. Because I think we have crown secrets out there rolling on the street, which.
And I think part of that 6 million that I mentioned, it has those items included
Okay.
in that money, so I had to break down for that.
Good.
See you guys on.
Okay.
Well, look, what's your fleet, total right now, as far as vehicles that you have at your department? When you look at officers, I know they're doubling up at one time.
Right, I don't have it offhand.
Maybe I just think you can get it to.
I can, yes, sir, I can do that.
All right, I have one more question, Chairman. These numbers that you gave us today, we're looking at, does that get us 2 people in the car when the sun goes down? Is that?
Now, it would get us at least, I think the top 12 districts, we will, satisfy that. And so part of that 100 plus will meet the need that we have right now to ensure that we have in the 12 high district, we have a 2-man and additional personnel, so absolutely yes.
Okay.
But not for the 24 districts that we have, it's the 12 districts that we have concerns with, it will be a 2-man patrol. Very similar to what we have right now.
And similar to Richard's question, I assume it takes a couple of years, just like Chief Jordan. You know, you said you had 31, I assume all 31 ain't gonna make it out of the academy.
I think they over the hump, so I think they over the hump, I think that we should be fine. They passed legal issues, happy, and so right now they, some of the departments, so they're pretty strong.
Okay. Y'all got any questions for Chief Finley or Chief Jordan? You know the question or the answer is, and that's why I thank you again for coming. If we do this, and that's an if, how difficult is it going to be for us to implement this process?
It won't be difficult to implement. We'll just have to coordinate it with payroll, and we can put it in place. We've had some earlier discussions in our cabinet meetings, and what we're in the process of doing now, we're actually doing a case study. And as I told them in the meeting, we'll present you all with the data.
Okay.
And then it'll be decided if you want to lead the market, meet the market, or lag the market.
Okay.
So we're gathering the information. Mark is over our pay and classification, so he's been working on that. And our goal is to have everything ready, because we're doing a case study for the entire plan. And we should have that ready before budget prep time. And it's a in-depth,
Right.
detailed process. So we are working on it. It's a big topic in human resources. The major cities and counties, HR group that I belong to, it's a nationwide issue. Something that we're all trying to address and trying to find ways to, make it better. So it is a hot topic and something that's on our radar.
It's just the public safety piece what you're talking about.
The
right?
public safety piece, yes. It's always a topic of discussion at our meetings. Recruiting and retention of public safety.
Right. And that's the big problem you guys have, is the retention part of it. I think you guys do a pretty good job with what you have today, getting people. The problem is trying to and attract the people that you were talking about that you want to attract. I mean, you're doing a good job with what we give you today.
Retention used to be our problem, but now hiring, for the first time in the last couple of years, has been a problem. When Hyundai was running at the bottom of the TV screen, hey, they want to hire 100 people. I started with 33.
Right.
And in 2 years, you make $50,000. It takes police or fire 8 years to get to 47%.
And that's one of the questions, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
In our March meetings, and I thought we talked about if we could do something with this step process. Because 15 is way too high. Because didn't Mayor Bright add on?
We're good with the step. The last adjustment we made,
Okay.
the steps
Okay.
works out good.
Promotions,
Okay.
yes. We made some adjustments to it last year
Yes.
to assist
Okay.
with the
Yes.
promotion process and help with retention.
Okay.
Our focus last time was on retention.
Okay.
So the step process now, because we don't start at the beginning, city county personnel shaded out some of the, I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah, the steps.
Yeah.
Gives
Right.
them a career
And- and-
path.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
now, yeah.
So it has a pretty good starting pay.
Okay.
The shaded thing is where it starts at.
Okay.
It doesn't, so we don't do the shaded thing. So we only start
On the lines.
on the
When they
lights.
get promoted.
So that cuts out some of that,
Right.
all that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
To address the promotional
That's
pay,
it. Yep. Yes,
retention.
ma'am.
That was our
Okay.
focus.
Okay.
so city county personnel did an excellent job in helping with that issues.
It's a 7 to 10% guaranteed promotion if you get promoted.
Take stuff up. Okay.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Chief, question, I know this kind of off, going to Carmen. From the impact program that MPS have, how do that help with our recruitment process by those kids being in that program? Are we getting into those kids from that program, or they're not just sticking around and just going?
Well, we got our first, graduate from that program about, 3 years ago, Jalen Shelby. He actually graduated #1 in the class. And so I think the class is doing real good. We have a great partnership with the class. And we also kind of partner with Elmo County. They have a very similar class. And so we're seeing students that's sticking with the program and applying in the system. Some of the things that's happened because of the process of the system, we have to catch them early, or we got to have something very attractive for them to hang around and not choose the Air Force or not choose something else when they graduate. But we have hired at least one, which was a good young man coming out of that program. So they're doing good.
We hire about 2 or 3 a year. Mackey and Lieutenant Mackey and a couple other personnel are really vetted in their program. It kind of steps into our Explorers program where they are at every event that we have, and so we have 15 to 20. And so our goal this year is to get 5 to 10. And so we've been pretty consistent, at least 2 or 3 a year. We have one that's currently in the academy. We have one that's looking at the academy in June, because he's still a baby, he's still going through that apprenticeship program. So we are very happy with our relationships, not only with that impact, but also with Explorers and different schools throughout the city that are ambassadors for us. And I'm looking at about 2 or 3 right now that I can't wait until around April or June when they can start the process.
Okay. Thank you. Was there anything else?
Yeah.
Mayor?
Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm just checking. And don't want to get into a bunch of it, but if anybody wants to comment on public safety, not about the occupational tax, And we're not there yet, because we don't know if we're gonna do it. If you wanna comment on public safety, you're more than welcome to. Yes, sir.
I do have some questions about who the occupational tax will affect, and.
You see me after me you'll talk about it. And it just so, we're here
That
to
will
talk
be
about
discussed
public
later.
safety. We're gonna talk about that later. We'll have another meeting about that, because we don't know if we're gonna get there yet.
I thought that was what this meeting was about, so you're not gonna take public questions?
About public safety,
What, this is about occupational tax, so you're doing a study, right?
we're doing a public safety study.
Isn't
to
that
see
why this meeting was held?
that if we do implement it, we don't have an ordinance or anything on the table about an occupational tax today.
No, you don't, but from my understanding, from what the media reported, this meeting was held in order to discuss the pending, consideration of an occupational tax, which the whole
How did we send it
council
out,
voted on.
Brenda? No, we didn't. We sent our meeting out for public safety.
I don't know why we wouldn't be allowed to ask questions. That's-
Why I came out in this rain.
I mean, if y'all are wanting the transparency that you say you're wanting, then let us ask questions.
Listen, we do. No, we do. And listen, answer your question, but we're not even there yet, and I don't think you understand that.
I know that, but I would like to know some things before we get there. I mean, y'all wanting to vote on this in February before the legislature gets an opportunity to come in so that y'all can push this forward?
There's what we sent this meeting out, but go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I have a list, if y'all will bear with me. Okay?
Oh, don't get,
Oh, I get that. That's all.
All right, y'all okay with me going through them?
yeah.
Okay. It was reported that the proposed occupational tax will not apply to military and contractors. I understand you're a contractor, you do yard service. What about state
Hang on, you want me to
employees?
address that since you just threw that out there?
Can I finish my question?
Okay, but don't insinuate.
What about state employees? What about the state legislature, the governor? What about city employees? You know, there's people who make minimum wage out here. Can they take a 1% pay cut?
That didn't sound like a question.
It was a question. There's several questions in one, but I've got more questions too.
You want me to take that one first?
I'll let you go ahead and do that one.
Maximum gunner would be exempt. And that's why I was telling you, we're not even to that part where we have an ordinance to put on the table. We've actually put a cap on, or talked about putting a cap on people that make X number of dollars wouldn't have to pay for it. To address the question that you insinuated I wouldn't pay for it, that's totally not true. We would go in and we'd fix the business license side of it, so everybody would have to pay. So,
What do you mean by everybody?
the doctors, the lawyers, the guys that cut grass, like you see.
Retirees?
No,
No.
no.
You got nothing to pay.
I've talked to a lot of folks who
The first
live
key,
and work.
excuse me,
I'm
the
sorry.
first key would be if you got a W-2, okay, with military exempt and professionals exempt. So the professionals and the others that don't get a W-2 would have to have a business license adjustment. So what we're trying to do is, the first meetings that we were hoping to have was to say, do we need this money? That's the first key. Do we have a shortfall? That's just in this. That's not in several other items that we want to discuss, would be middle school sports, maybe, fixing back up the community centers. There are a lot of other things. We want to see, do we need the money? Is it justified before we even look at it?
Okay.
I'm not in that.
Would it
rush.
affect state employees?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
As of today, now, you're asking us questions again, that we
Well,
don't
we
have.
don't have an ordinance.
Yeah, we don't have something to tell you
We
exactly
don't
what's
know
in the
the
ordinance, so,
Okay.
just so you understand.
All right, and the next question, a lot of people I have talked to are citizens of Montgomery and work here in Montgomery, and they don't realize that this tax will affect them as well. They think it's the way they've heard it on the news, it sounds like it's just gonna affect those people coming out of town. But it's my understanding it will affect every person who works inside
That's
the city
correct.
limits.
That's correct.
So that information needs to get out there to the public. They need to know. And then the next question is, why wouldn't this be put to a vote by the people who live in this city instead of voted on by council and the mayor
Mayor, do you,
or the council?
What the mayor gonna do?
Well, why wouldn't it be put to a vote is my question by the people who live in the city?
The occupational, or the property tax would be put to a vote, but the occupational tax is not.
It's our job as the council to set the budget or get the funding to operate the budget that's come before us. So if there's a need, I guess that's what we're talking about, to
Yes.
see if there's a need, whether it be 1% or 0.5%, to discuss what we need, that these people, that everybody within the city of Montgomery says, we need better public safety, we want better schools, so we got to see if these are the things that we wanna do.
Well, if they want that, they should vote for it, and they should be given that opportunity.
Yes.
Rather than 6 people on the council making that decision.
It's 9. It'd be like your sanitation fees and other fees that are out there, they don't go out for a public vote every time they get changed.
Okay.
Sir, if I may, I kind of have the sentiment of the gentleman here, but I'm looking at it from a different perspective. When you think in terms of public safety and education, those things are essential. And I hope what you're here today is to do a fact gathering information session, so that if you do bring a proposal to the table, and I'm hoping that you will, you'll have some that is feasible, economical, and everybody can deal with this issue. I'm hoping that's the whole perspective of what you deal with today.
And that is, and again, we don't have anything set in stone. You're not gonna wake up tomorrow and have an occupational tax. What this is like Councilman Bollinger said, is do we need this? And the next committee that we're gonna have, just so everybody's aware, that we wanna look at our community centers.
Now that, yes.
And everybody knows that we have an issue with our youth here in town, and we wanna look, this committee's gonna look at our community centers.
And
Okay.
that's a functioning community center.
Correct.
That's not just having the building, that's one that's staffed, that can do things that we needed to actually do.
All right, previously, the city council looked at the same issue, I understand, last year. And, it was, a recommendation came up that the city manager position possibly be eliminated, or maybe looking at other positions that are,
We don't have a
not
city
needed.
manager.
Or what, the person who is over the police department or whatever. But that the police department, the fire department report directly to the mayor. And I don't know what happened with that, or if it was even considered, but, has a committee been appointed to look at, employees that are already working for the city?
And I don't wanna speak for Mayor Reed, but he has that's a mayor question, but I know he has a transition team, I know he's looked at, department heads, cabinet heads, and that's totally up to the mayor.
Yeah.
Discretion.
That
Yeah.
position is not gonna help our police and fire.
And I heard the fire chief say that he has done some research. I didn't hear the police chief say he's done any research. But, has any, grants been, filed? When's the last time the city filed for a grant for the police department?
Well, he just said that he's got a grant now
With the fire
available.
department.
We just talked about that we had to be over 502 police officers, and we had a grant, I guess about a year ago, that ran for 2 years.
Well, it's still in existence, so we have an extension, and we still waiting for that magic number, and we haven't.
We gotta maintain over 502 officers, or we gotta pay the grant.
Yeah,
back.
we're training them, we're educating them, and somebody else is taking them. And they're doing that for a reason. That reason is either one, like they said, overwork or underpaid.
I think that needs to be looked at, grants through the League of Municipalities or any other.
We do,
We are.
they
We
do.
are.
We have grant,
Instead of putting it on the backs of the citizens.
no,
of
we
Montgomery.
do, but those grants only go for 2 years now. And then 3 years, and then we have to kick in and pay it.
Are you taking into consideration that we already have 10 cents on the dollar?
Well, and let me share this with you. And again, let me make sure everybody understands, we ain't got a sheet of paper with an occupational ordinance on it. So, but if there is one, what this council would like to do is take off our 3.5 cents off groceries.
But what that would do, even if you took it off, if somebody else picked it up, you still
We
in the
can
same
ask the
boat
state
you
to
in
give us
Montgomery
the
County.
authority to do
I
it.
just want you to take that into consideration. I'm not saying
I have a couple more questions and I'll be finished.
Okay.
All right, hold on.
Hang on.
Hold on, please. I think 1 or 2 questions is good, and somebody else may want to speak, okay?
That's fine, whatever you want to do.
I can finish.
No.
Just hang on, I'll
Let's
talk
just
to you
take a few
afterwards.
other questions
I'll talk to you
after.
afterwards.
She's been waiting.
I kind of have just clarification. You said military and professionals would be exempt. What is your definition of professionals? And, would the fire department and MTV be exempt as well?
I'm sorry, can you say that last
Would
one?
the fire department and MTV be
No.
exempt from
They get it
non-professional
as
No.
they do.
So what you're looking to do is give them a raise and then tax them on that. Is that what I'm understanding? understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
That's one of those other departments that won't get the raise.
What is your definition of professionals?
Maybe can you help lawyers, doctors, but again, ma'am, those would be addressed, just so everybody's clear. Those would be addressed through our business license department, and those business licenses would be adjusted.
I got that, I just want
Okay.
your definition for professionals.
If you got the,
Doctors, lawyers, CPAs.
can you hear her, doctors, lawyers, CPAs? They've got an actual list.
They got a list. Could we get a copy of that list?
Yeah, well, I'll get you one, KT.
Thank you, Doc.
You retired?
Yeah, I'm
Okay, you ain't on that list. Yes, ma'am.
If the city's going to be viable and healthy, as in other cities of our size have occupational tax, it's a viable, pursuit, proposal, and this city ought to have an occupational tax. Now, of course, when I run for mayor, I had conversations with the former mayor, Mayor Strange, and he agreed that the city should have had an occupational tax by now. And, with white flight, 30,000 whites have left Montgomery. We have 21 plus private schools. In 2018, $30 million from public schools went to private schools. And the Alabama Accountability Act holds that the private schools, their grades are no better than the public school grades, but they are not held at the same criteria as public schools. And so with white flight and with the Accountability Act has caused immeasurable pain and hurt to our public school system. And 64,000 people drive into Montgomery and drive out with the money every week pay period and go to lower taxes and better schools all around Montgomery. And so Montgomery it has suffered dually by white flight and the Accountability Act. And we need to restore the integrity of our school system and thereby our economic system as well. And then on top of that, when we do achieve the occupational tax, which I believe that we are going to do that because it's the right thing for the city councilors to do. And as well, we don't need to hamstring our mayor who have promised the school system a raise. And some of these monies should go to our school system to restore the health of our school system. And so
Let me get her to get a question.
Yeah.
Let me get her.
But I understand what you want to do, but at the same time, the way to make it equitable is to reduce the sale tax because other people drive to lower sale tax every day and spend money from Montgomery. And so let's do the right thing as city council. Let's do the right thing as citizens because we have allowed our school system and all to be jeopardized, and it's time
All right, let me get her.
restore and do the right thing.
Let's get a question.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
First, let me say, I've lived in Montgomery in the same house for 42 years in Gay Meadows. I've watched mayors and councils come and go. I graduated from the police academy about 100 years ago when I was working with the state crime lab. So I am very much in support of supporting schools. My kids go to public schools here. I support the police department, the fire department. My basic concern, and I agree with the gentleman in the front row, this meeting today was publicized as a meeting about the occupational tax.
Right.
Every piece of material that came out to the public, which was nothing I saw from the council, just people like that yesterday, said it was about the occupational tax. That's why most of us are here. Now, I don't have a real serious problem with an occupational tax per se. And there are cities who have occupational taxes and are doing well. But they tax every citizen who makes a penny in that city. And honestly, I have watched things being told to me for 40 years saying, oh, well, we'll get around to that part later. No. The city council, first of all, to say, we're gonna impose this 1% sales tax, occupational tax on everybody, doesn't need to be voted on by the people, doesn't need by the commission, none of us are gonna do it, is in my opinion, not the right way about it. But if you can do that, then you say, well, we're gonna exempt all the professionals, which, as you know, means the people who are making all the money in this town, and mostly live outside of town.
No, let me,
We're gonna exempt all those people.
We're not
And then we're
exempting
going
them.
to fix it with the business license tax, business license.
That's the only way, it's not an exemption, you
Double
cannot.
No, because what I have seen for 42 years is what has happened to business licenses in this city. People who make $500,000, $1 million, $2 million in the city don't pay nearly as much in business taxes per se, and percentage-wise, as people like us who get up and go to work every day, pay in occupational taxes, sales taxes, grocery taxes, health care taxes, gas taxes, we just went up lately. What I want to know is why, with all the brains in the city of Montgomery, can't we come up with a tax? We have to have a tax, we have to have the money. Why can't we find a way to tax rich people equitably with those of us who go to work for $7 an hour? I mean, it's not fair. Exactly. Lower the sales tax, figure out a way to tax the rich people who take their money out of this city.
That's right.
And who spend it on,
That's right.
you know, country houses and mansions in Florida. But they're making the money here off of us. We're people that are going to the doctors and going to the lawyers and paying for the money that they're taking into their bank account. So why are we once again proposing a tax that's going to affect all us little folks? And I will tell you, I'm retired. I don't have a W-2 anymore. I got a couple 1099s for my pension. So I'm not even going to be subject to the tax the way it is now, and that's not fair. I live here. I use city services. Why am I exempt from my little federal pension, and some guy who's making $6 million a year doesn't have to pay? It's got to be more fair. And my last point is, y'all need to do a better job of letting the public know what these meetings are about and what's going to happen. Because, guys, it's 3 weeks till February the 4th.
That's right.
And y'all are talking about passing this thing, figuring this out, getting it all done, getting our house tax by February the 4th to avoid the legislature possibly stepping in and saying, oh, y'all can't do an occupational tax. That's 3 weeks. And what have we done today? That's not enough time to plan a city sidewalk, much less an occupational tax, and it's going to affect everybody in Montgomery County. Y'all just can't be rushing into this kind of stuff. And what are you going to do? Walk in the back room now and figure out what's going to happen? We came to this meeting to talk about the occupational tax, and then y'all didn't even want to talk about it. You can't do something of this magnitude in 3 weeks. I don't care when the legislature meets. It's not fair. It's not organized. It's not right.
That's the right.
And look, I want to address your concerns. The business license part of it, as I just told this gentleman, the professionals, the people who get W-2s, that will be addressed. By the council. By the council. The council will address it through the business license. Hold on, KT, hold on, because I don't, you know, when people. Hold on. So, but I want to answer the questions. So that will be addressed. And again, I don't know where you got February 4th from, and I just asked them, did they commit to put it on the table?
That's what's been reported.
Has anybody on this council said that?
Rights anymore.
That's what was reported.
Okay, well.
So
hold on. So the next question I want to address is, KT, the next question I want, and we'll move to the question, and I'll be done. But walk in the back room, no ma'am, we're not going to walk in the back room. And just so the news media knows, next Tuesday at 1 o'clock, we're going to talk to our Parks and Rec department about our community centers. And then the following Tuesday, we'll probably do another department. But no, that's why we're having these meetings, to put every single thing out in the paper, in the newspaper, what public safety needs, what community, or the Parks and Rec needs, to put everything out in public. And then for 9 people to figure out, do you want to vote on it or not vote on it? And the money would be earmarked, let me be real clear. If,
Finish, I read
I don't know what it says. The money would be earmarked. For example, if public safety said, today we need $10 million, and we had that magic wand, we would earmark that $10 million to public safety. No shenanigans, we're not taking $10 million out of their current budget and put in the $10 million so they're equal. It will be added, it will be earmarked specifically for certain things. So it ain't gonna go in the general fund, and it won't be behind closed doors. Everything will be done out here.
What is the proposal for the written to raise?
Nobody, I don't know, nobody's written it. And we'll put it out, we'll have a meeting on that, but nobody's written it. I don't have an occupational tax.
Will it be voted on by the council or by the citizens of Montgomery?
By the council right now.
That's not right.
Then as I said, I suggest you all do a much better job of informing the public, because what we got about this meeting was atrocious.
Well, do y'all want to do
We
this?
were told this meeting was.
That's not when we voted y'all in.
2:00? We get done?
They're not saying.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So
ma'am.
what I'm saying is, since I came for the occupational tax, and you haven't had a meeting on occupational tax, so therefore I can't legitimately ask you questions that I may have on the occupational tax, because you haven't told me anything what you plan on doing. What I wanna know is about public safety. That's what I heard when I came in here. I wanna know about whether or not I saw in the paper where they're saying this community has cameras that take pictures of the licenses of the cars that come through their neighborhood. And I wanted to know, how is it that we can apply and possibly get something like that in our communities that will help us? That's what I wanna know from public safety. Is it easy to do, or what do we have to do? So I can take it back to the people and let them know that this is a possibility for them also.
Get with your city councilman, KT.
Get with my city councilman?
Yeah.
City councilman?
Hey, and I wanna read to you the resolution that I wrote. Miss Brenda gave it to me. It said, we will do a study, I'm ad-libbing, do a study for the proposed allocations. Committee will meet over the next several weeks and report to the council as a whole of its findings at the February 4th meeting. So there ain't a February 4th deadline to vote. That was the resolution that I wrote.
Are you all planning on voting before the legislature begins?
I don't know. I mean, one person can bring up anything, now whether you vote on it or not.
What the committee is set up to do is to bring back any kind of recommendation or funding needs that we think we've gathered. Discuss that with the whole city council. There may be more questions and they need to take it further, but that's what that whole thing is
That's
about.
not transparency.
What I wanna know, are you gonna have a meeting for
What we're trying to do.
occupational
Hey,
tax?
look,
The meetings are public, so it is transparent.
Last
We don't
time-
have a meeting and discuss it at a public meeting, that means it's transparent. We don't have an ordinance before, no one to say
You
what
won't
it's
tell
gonna
me
be.
if you're gonna vote before the legislature?
We're not, we don't know if we're gonna vote, we don't have an ordinance to vote on. We don't have an ordinance, this is just a committee to study about what we're
Nobody's
trying
gonna
to do.
sneak this thing in the middle
Are
of
we
the
gonna
night.
have
I
a
don't-
meeting on our?
KT, I got one more question and I'm done now. I mean.
Are we gonna have a meeting on occupational tax?
We can, absolutely, KT.
Please, that's all I want.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to say, in listening to this, I came with my neighbor today, and as most of you know, I really run for city council, and I've never been shy in writing anything or in the newspaper about an occupational tax. I drive to Auburn, I live here, but I drive to Auburn, friends and I drive to Auburn, because we like some of the scenes, some of the downtown, the restaurants that they're having. It is a beautiful town, plus I've had nephews at college. Now, Auburn has had an occupational tax in place, if I am correct, since the 70s. Do some research and correct me if I'm wrong. But I know it has been in place for at least 2 decades. That city is growing exponentially. Businesses are coming there. It's a safe town. I recently had a discussion with my husband. I said, I like Auburn. He said, you can't be going to Auburn right now because you're running for office. But I like the city. What do we like about it? It's safe. It's friendly and it's growing. We complain here about, oh, and I forgot to mention education. Great job. We see that we go, I have neighbors, and this is my neighbor, I have neighbors who are building homes in Auburn. They're going to wait until they retire, but that's where they're going. And we have to ask ourselves, and it's not a black or white issue to me, it is a quality of life issue.
Right.
And if we want a quality of life in this city, you don't get that for nothing.
Right.
And we've got to all be willing to come to the table. I am what I would like to call working middle class with my husband and I when we do all the figures. I'm willing to pay what it's gonna take if there is transparency. And I think like Auburn is set up, because I did talk to some people in Auburn, they finally had to stop talking to me and told me I have to do a letter to request information. But those of you who are in office can talk to them. See how that occupational license fee is set up. Because if I am correct, we look at it here. It is not exempting what we want to exempt. We need to really look at that. I'm in favor, but I think it needs to be fair to everybody. You don't exempt people because we are, as a major city, have one of the most, we have more governmental liaison offices here than anyone. You can't exempt those people from this license fee. If you're gonna put me and my husband, an ex-fireman, I am by trade, profession, an educator, if we're going to pay, everybody needs to pay. It needs to be a fair sharing. It needs to be something we don't hear much, equity. And those at the top must pay just like those of us in the middle and at the bottom. So that's my key on it. It must be equitable.
Yeah,
it must come from that. That's my key for it.
need.
I am in support, but it needs to be equitable. We cannot start this thing with the lobbyists and all of this, who we're going to let out of it. We all come to the table because this is one Montgomery.
It's not who we want,
Yeah.
it's who we're forcing.
Thank
you.
All right. Hey, we're gonna recess. We're gonna reconvene next Tuesday, a week from today at 2 o'clock, to talk specifically about parks and recs and our community centers and what we need in our community centers today to be able to operate them at the capacity they need to be operated at. So appreciate everybody coming. If you wanna talk, we'll talk. Meeting adjourned. Thanks. Huh?